Picture 30 people on an open plain. It's tens of thousands of years before the first city, the first coin, the first written word. There's no police out here. No court, no judge, no jail, no law carved into anything. Just 30 people, some spears, and a lot of empty land in every direction. Now drop one man into that group who's bigger than everyone else, meaner. He wants the best meat, the best spot by the fire, and he's willing to hurt you to get it. Out here, who's going to stop him? And yet, in group after group like this one, that man almost never got to run things. So, did ancient humans have gangsters? Seriously, sit with that for a second. No cops, no cages, no rules on paper. If anyone could just take whatever he wanted by force, why didn't the strongest, cruelest person win every single time? Because there are really two questions hiding inside that one. The first is easy. Were there dangerous, grabbing, violent men back then? Of course there were. The far more interesting question is the second one. What did everyone else do about them? And the answer is older than money, older than farming, older than writing. This goes back before our species built anything at all. It's one of the first problems humans ever solved, and the way they solved it is strange, kind of brutal, and weirdly familiar if you've ever sat through a bad day at the office. And the strangest part? The single most successful gangster in ancient history didn't get punished for it. He got promoted. But you're going to want to be sitting down for that one, so we'll come back to it. First, one rule you have to understand. Before you can have a gangster, you need two things. You need something worth taking, and you need to get away with taking it. So picture the world before either of those really existed. You're a nomad. You own what you can carry, and not one thing more. No house, no vault, no field, no stash of anything. Your wealth is your body, your skills, and the people who've got your back. When the food runs out here, you walk somewhere else. That's the whole economy. Now think about what that does to a bully. What's he going to steal? A basket? You'll make another one. He can't fence off the river. He can't own the antelope until it's dead. There's almost nothing to hoard and nowhere to put it. But there's one thing he can still take by force. You, your labor, your share of the kill, your dignity. He can make you fetch and flinch and hand it over. And for a very long time, the only thing standing between you and that man was each other. Then, slowly, something changed. Start with the man himself, the domineering one. Where does he even come from? Most people picture early humans as either gentle hippies living in perfect peace, or club-swinging brutes locked in a non-stop war of all against all. Both are wrong, and the truth in between is more interesting than either. Look at our closest relatives. Chimpanzees run on a blunt dominance hierarchy, where a few strong individuals shove everyone else around and take the best of everything. That drive to dominate is old. It's in the family. So the anthropologist Christopher Bohm made a simple, unsettling point. Humans almost certainly inherited that same impulse. The would-be tyrant isn't a modern invention. He's standard equipment. Bohm built his whole career around one idea. In every human group, somebody will always try to dominate the others. The bully is a constant. So if the bully is always there and there's no police and no jail, you'd expect him to win. He didn't. And why not is one of the quietly radical things our ancestors ever pulled off. Here's what they figured out. One bully beats one victim every time. But one bully does not beat the whole group acting as one. Bohm called it a reverse dominance hierarchy, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. In a normal hierarchy, the powerful few dominate the many. Turn it upside down. The many quietly agree to dominate the few. The entire band becomes a coalition with one unspoken rule. Nobody gets to lord it over the rest of us, and they enforced it with a ladder. It didn't start with violence. It started with a joke. Step one was teasing. Someone gets too big for himself, brags too much, hogs the meat, and suddenly the whole camp is needling him, mocking the great hunter who thinks he's a gift to mankind. If that didn't land, it climbed to open ridicule. Then to shunning, the entire group acting like you simply aren't there. And think about what that means when you live in a band of 30 and there is no other world. No door to slam, no apartment to storm off to. The people ignoring you are the same people you need to survive the winter. Being ignored isn't an insult out here. It's a slow death sentence. If shunning failed, the next rung was exile. Get out. Go be strong somewhere else. And in the rare cases where a man was so violent and so relentless that even exile wouldn't stop him, the group had one last tool. They killed him. Collectively. Sometimes handing the job to one of his own relatives, so no family could start a feud over it. Read that again. The original answer to organized crime was for everyone to get organized against the criminal. Boehm argued this ran so deep that coercion itself might have been humanity's very first taboo. Not murder, not theft. Bossing people around. The first deviant in human history wasn't a thief. It was the man who tried to rule. But let's be honest about something. None of that made the ancient world safe. A village could keep its own bully in line. It had far less say over the bully from the next valley. Because there's a second kind of gangster, and this one didn't live in your group. He came for it. In 2016, a team led by Marta Mirazon-Lar published something chilling in the journal Nature. On what used to be a lagoon shore near Lake Turkana in Kenya, they'd found 27 people who died around 10,000 years ago. Not farmers. Nomadic hunter-gatherers. Exactly the people we've been describing. At least 10 of them died horribly. Crushed skulls, broken hands, arrow points still buried in bone. And here's the detail that turns a fight into something colder. Some of the weapons were obsidian that didn't come from the local area, hinting the attackers had traveled in from somewhere else. They were carrying gear you'd never bring to hunt an antelope. Clubs, close-range blades, and long-range arrows together. That combination whispers one word. Premeditation, not a chance scuffle. A planned hit. Now I have to be straight with you, because this is where honest history matters. Other researchers pushed back hard, arguing the evidence isn't that clean, that some of those injuries could have come about another way. We don't get to be certain. This is 10,000-year-old bone, not a security tape. But even the possibility reshapes the picture. Because soft things rot and stone lasts, almost everything these people did to each other left no trace at all. The absence of proof isn't proof it never happened. It just means the ground kept the secret. Then came the one invention that flipped the entire board. Farming. Remember the rule from the start? To get a real gangster, you need something worth taking and a way to get away with it. Farming handed humanity both, gift-wrapped, grain in a pit, animals in a pen. A house you couldn't fold up and carry off. For the first time, wealth just sat there, and when wealth sits still, someone eventually comes to collect. The ground remembers this one clearly. At Talheim in Germany around 7,000 years ago, 34 people were dumped in a single pit, skulls caved in from behind. At another German site, Halberstadt, researchers found something even more pointed. A group of men, most of them not local, executed with targeted blows to the back of the head and thrown away. That's not a battle. That's not two war lines meeting. That's killing, done under control, on purpose, to a chosen set of people. That's the archaeology of a hit. And we can watch a gentler version in living memory. The anthropologist Napoleon Chagnon spent years with the Yanomami in the Amazon and reported that men who had killed, the ones they called Unokai, tended to have more wives and more children than men who hadn't. The takeaway looked ugly and simple. Violence paid. But here's your reframe, and it matters. That finding is fiercely disputed. When other researchers studied a different Amazonian people, the Warani, they found the reverse. That the most relentless raiders ended up with fewer descendants, not more. So we don't actually know that being a killer paid off. What we know is that humans have been arguing over whether crime pays for a very, very long time. There's one last layer, and I saved it for the end, because it's the strangest part of all of this. Go back to that raider who hits her village and moves on. Now imagine one of them gets an idea. Instead of striking once and vanishing, what if he just stays? What if he stops grabbing everything and starts taking a steady cut, every harvest, forever? And what if, in exchange, he keeps the other raiders away? The economist Manker Olson had names for this. The raider who moves on. He called a roving bandit. The one who settles down, a stationary bandit. And he argued something that should rearrange your head. The stationary bandit is the seed of government. Protection in exchange for a cut, backed by the threat of force, is a description of the mafia. It's also a description of the earliest states, and it isn't just a tidy theory. Economists have watched it happen in our own century. A study published in 2020 followed armed groups in the eastern Congo and documented them doing exactly this: settling next to valuable mines, setting up taxes, building little administrations, selling protection, roving bandits turning stationary in real time on camera. So the most successful gangster in human history wasn't the one the village exiled or clubbed. It was the one who got so good at it that we stopped calling it a gang. We started calling it a kingdom. So, did ancient humans have gangsters? Yes, and also no. And the gap between those two answers is the whole story of how we got here. They carried the impulse from the very beginning, inherited straight from our ape ancestors. And for tens of thousands of years, they beat it, not with cops, but with each other. They teased the bully. They shunned the tyrant. They exiled the violent. The gang was the whole village, and it was pointed at the one man trying to become a gang of one. Then wealth started sitting still, and the balance tipped. The raider outside could plan an attack. The strongman inside could hoard a granary. And eventually, the cleverest predator of all worked out that you make far more protecting the herd than scattering it. Here's the truth sitting under all of it. The struggle you've been watching isn't ancient at all. It's the same fight running through every police force, every tax bill, every protection racket, every government on Earth tonight. Who gets to use force and who has to obey? We didn't invent that argument. We inherited it. Around a fire, on an open plain, long before anyone wrote a single word of law. So go back to that band of 30. No police, no jail, no law carved into anything. And one dangerous man who wanted it all. They stopped him. Not with a badge, not with a cage, but with each other. With a joke that hardened into a threat, and a threat that, when it had to, became final. That little band already understood the thing we still haven't fully figured out, that the only thing more dangerous than one person with power is everyone else agreeing to let him keep it. They didn't have gangsters running the show. They made sure of it. That was the law.